Okay, this is Wednesday, May 7th, 2025. This is Sahavas for everyone. I'm here with my lovely wife, Vanessa. And tonight, let me share my screen. Tonight is faith. This is 12 ways of realizing me, and the subject is faith. And I made up this quote: faith is the bridge between experience and God realization. I made this up many years ago. And what I meant by this is that faith is when your experience is falling short of the goal, and it helps you to cross that bridge to the goal. So once you're at the goal of God realization, there's no need for faith, because you are that. You are that one. You are that experience of being God and being one with everything. Until that experience, we need faith, and it helps us to get across the bridge. That's important. And then, do you want to say anything about that, Vanessa?
Oh, no, go ahead.
And then I'll share something else, which is, let's see here. Okay. Share screen. Right. So this is Baba's 12 Ways of Realizing Me. For faith, it says, if you have the complete faith that Kalyan had for his master, in believing it was night, although it was day, because his master said so, then you will know me. And then, so if you understand that, we can go here. Let me share this. And there's two things I found here. One is about Kalyan and Ramdas. This is a more in-depth and descriptive story from Baba. This comes from Lord Meher. Baba then told another story about Swami Ramdas, who was a perfect master, and his disciple Kalyan, which illustrated obedience. One day, in broad daylight, Ramdas, saying it was dark out, told Kalyan, his disciple, to bring a lighted lantern, which he did immediately. Ramdas slapped him for this and said, "You fool! Can you not see it is daylight?" Kalyan apologized, asking for his forgiveness as he left with the lantern. By using this example, Ramdas explained to Shivaji about faith and obedience. Hafiz has said, "Whatever my master says, I accept wholeheartedly without the slightest thought." This is implicit faith and obedience, but it is very, very difficult, rather impossible, particularly for you Westerners who have so much intellect, always arguing the merits and demerits of things. In Kalyan's case, he not only obeyed his master orders, but he actually believed Ram Das when he told him it was the darkness of night, even in broad daylight. Such belief and faith is truly impossible. So anybody can go read this in Lord Meher Online, page 1536. And do you want to say anything about that, Vanessa, before we continue?
No, I'm enjoying the stories, but I did come up with, I have another little thing I want to share later, but keep going.
Why not now?
Because it's long.
We have time. I don't see anybody else raising their hand.
Well, that's true. All right. Well, this one is probably well, obviously it's If you go on to avatarmeherbaba.org, there's a really lovely quote from Baba saying that there are no two kinds of faith. One of the greatest things to possess is faith, which ultimately leads to conviction. And from conviction, one day arises realization. There are no two kinds of faith. Faith is the last thing to be labeled. The only question is whether one has strong faith or a weak faith. Some manifest faith only to the point of acknowledging forms and ceremonies, while some go beyond this to seek the kernel and the eschewed, the whole, believing either in the impersonal infinite existence or in the personal existence of one's own master. Thus, it is only a question of degree of faith. In wholehearted faith, relief will be found from the many sufferings which afflict man. We are already in possession of infinite power and happiness, but it is our way of life which prevents us from enjoying these eternal treasures of God. Faith can provide a key to attain them. Eventually, faith must give way to conviction, for after all, faith is only faith. There are two kinds of experience, external and internal. External experiences can result through the gross media. What we actually see of the gross world through our gross eyes gives us conviction of a sort. But there are occasions when even this conviction is based on incorrect analysis. Thus, if we see a man drinking milk from a bottle under a toddy tree, a cheap, intoxicating drink is commonly made in India from a sap of the toddy tree. We assume unconsciously that he is drinking toddy, which is incorrect. What is seen with the inner eye gives absolute conviction and can never be false. Such is the case, for example, when one sees with the inner eye that God is the infinite existence. Therefore, what is really needed to give external conviction is not mere theorizing and reasoning, or even faith, but actual inner experience. Once God has been realized, there is no question of faith or even of conviction. Just as there is no question of a man's needing faith to believe that he is man. Having transcended the boundaries of faith, one finds oneself identified with the infinite and the one self manifested everywhere. So, I mean, he gives a really lovely, detailed kind of evolution of how faith takes us to conviction, which takes us to the actual experience of the unity.
Well, and that segues perfectly from what I was sharing. So that's perfect. Great.
Yeah. I think I love that part where it's like the faith, if you exercise it, it seems like a muscle, right? You're exercising faith to get to conviction, which then takes you to the ultimate goal. So it is a bit of like a map, it seems. You just keep exercising faith, and then you get conviction. And in my mind, when I think about that, I think about, well, if I am exercising faith, then I'm going to have more and more experiences of how God is showing up in oneness in my life. And therefore, I would get these little moments of conviction. And then I'm just piling a little pile of conviction on my right? So I'm exercising with faith. So it's kind of like going to the gym, right? I'm going to the faith gym, and then I'm compiling the convictions. And then once the convictions get large enough, then you're just standing in the experience of the conviction that God is the only reality, right? So it's like it's just this beautiful incremental um path, but in a sense you don't even realize that every time you choose faith, you're letting your ego die, right? There's little parts of you that are dying, right? Because the conviction is taking over. But it's probably done in a way it's so incremental that you're not even realizing how big your conviction pile is and how strong your faith is until, you know, you're probably in a situation where you're in comparison to something maybe, but um yeah, it's encouraging to me to just think, oh, my efforts are getting somewhere when I choose faith.
I love what you're saying. That's fantastic. And then it raises a question for me. Maybe you can help me answer, which is what's the relationship then between faith and surrender?
Oh, well, if you want me to comment on that, I
I do.
I think that in order to exercise faith, you have to surrender the ego, because the ego wants to know, it wants to, like, say, have the black or white experience, and they want to say that, the stone is real, but nothing, that I can't see, touch, or taste, would be real. That would be, imagination. So I think it's a surrender every time you choose to exercise faith. Um, and if you look at the great stories, even in the Bible, like when when any one of the characters had to choose something that went against the status quo, or to, lead people into the desert, it's like there was always this, you know, exercise of faith, which was a surrender in a sense of letting God take over, right? It's like it's actually saying, no, I don't know how, like, I don't have the answer, right? And God is gonna, I'm handing God the reins every time I choose the faith.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So let me share another story, which I think is totally related to that. And that is the next story that I found. Can you see my screen okay? Vanessa, can you see the screen?
Oh yeah.
Okay. So, beloved Baba also said, and this is also from Lord Maher, why did Hafiz say what he said? Once Hafiz's master, Attar, ordered one of his disciples to go home and kill his child. Hafiz was present and heard the order and began to wonder. But the man to whom the order was given simply thought there must be some good reason for it, so he at once went home, killed the child, and brought its body to his master. All the time, Hafiz was having doubts, but he said nothing. Others were thinking the same thing, but they also said nothing. The master told Hafiz to take the body of the child far away and bury it deep. Hafiz did so, and according to the Persian custom, lit a candle and placed it over the grave. As he looked at the flame of the candle, he heard a voice saying, I have been benefited. It is for my own good. To his astonishment, he saw the form of a child rise out of the candle flame. As Hafiz stared in amazement, he saw millions of child forms rising out of the candle flame. Aghast, Hafiz went running back to the master. On his way, wherever he looked, he saw the forms of children until he came and sat near the master. The master then told the father of the child, Go and bring your child who is at home. The man went, and at once, without stopping to think that he had killed the child, and even Hafiz did not ask questions anymore, the man found his child walking around the house quite well and happy. This incident convinced Hafiz of the tremendous powers of the master and his working, which is always mysterious and cannot be grasped by the intellect and so misleads people. From that day on, his faith in his master increased tremendously. After Hafiz got realization, he wrote, I failed my master, but that man did not fail him, and yet that man was not in his circle and did not gain realization. And then he wrote, he is the select one who believes without question and obeys whatever his master says. So, when I tell you to do something unusual, it is always for your own good. If you do anything on your own, which is out of the ordinary, you are bound by it. But the one who is beyond good and evil can never get you bound. He uses Maya to draw you out of Maya. It is as if when you are having a long, beautiful dream, you must have a short, shocking dream to wake you up. And that's from Lord Mayher, page 1537. So, Vanessa, have you heard that story before? That's a pretty shocking story. And you're a mother.
Right. I don't know if I have heard that story before.
What kind of thoughts or feelings come up when you hear that?
Oh, I don't- mm. Well, of course, as a mother, I just, you know, have the empathy. Do you find that there was any part of your life that you feel would connect to this story in your own
Well, I
experience?
mean, it I think most people would say that they wouldn't be able to do it, right? If Baba ordered you to go home and kill your child, could you do it? Could I do it, right? I don't think I could. Maybe, but I doubt it. It reminds me of the story of Abraham and his son. Uh, Depending on who you talk to, it was either Isaac or Ishmael. That Abraham was asked by God to take his son and altar and offer his son on the altar as a sacrifice, and he obeyed. And he took his son, and the son obeyed his father, and he raised the dagger to sacrifice his son. And the angel appeared and stopped him and said, that was the test, right? That was you did it, even though you didn't go through with it. You did it by um, being prepared to do it and being willing to do it. And God stopped him by sending the angel. So I
Yeah,
think,
I mean that's the if God asked me to kill my child, I think that I would have had to have had many experiences before that moment that allowed me to get to the point of the understanding and the conviction that it would be for my highest good, because or whoever is highest good, and that it was a type of, not just surrender, but like a service to the souls involved, getting closer to him, you know, in a much more immediate way, because I can't see the karmic knots and the sanskars and all that that had accumulated. I mean, I've had in my own life, this life, situations where I have had to use great faith and to kind of make giant leaps of faith, like and knowing that it was going to be a very difficult path. But I would say that, I don't have the knowledge afterwards, of like an angel either like telling me to stop doing that, or like somebody, I mean, I went through with it. So then on the other side, I can't know the results of that faith other than um that the experience of, having completed that journey and chosen that faith, that I see that all the lessons that came afterwards strengthened me in ways that I could never have imagined. So I would say that the faith did lead me in a direction that was closer to God through strength of conviction, but I can't say that it was because, you know, um, my life like worked out in I guess from an ego point of view in a way that would be like, storybook, so I can't say I had the storybook ending after choosing the faith, but I definitely had characteristics developed in me that I don't think would have been developed in me had I not chosen that.
Yeah, and all this reminds me of a story you once told me where you had, I think it was a dream of Baba, and you started to have a deeper and deeper experience until the children came into it. Do you remember that?
Are you talking about when I was sitting next to Baba?
Yeah, can you tell that?
Yeah, so I was dreaming. I was having a lot of longing for God in this particular period in my life, and I ended up sitting um hip to hip with Baba. We were both sitting on some sort of bench. And so he was very close to me, and I could feel his shoulder on mine. And I looked into his face, and it was so beautiful. And I remember just feeling so much love. It was just so palpable and so consuming that, your body naturally wants to lean towards that much love. So I remember I was leaning towards him, not having a thought of doing anything in particular. But as I leaned towards him, he began to dissolve, and became the cosmos. So I was falling then in a sense into the cosmos. The bench was no longer, his body was no longer, it was just the cosmos. And as I was falling, I realized that I would be falling into the infinite. I would become the infinite. Vanessa would cease to exist. And in that moment, I thought, oh, I'm going to drop my body. Like I actually thought in my dream that even though I was in a dream, that it felt more real than the wake state. So that I thought, oh, I'm letting go of my body in some way. That's what it felt like. And so the thought that came to me in that moment was, oh gosh, what about my kids? And they need me, right? And I'm gonna have to, who's gonna care for them? And when that happened, it was like a bungee cord just pulled me right out of the cosmos, right back into Vanessa. And then I woke up and I thought, oh man, like I can't believe like my attachment to my children is keeping me from, the infinite, um, from that unity, from letting go of the limited I. Um, so that in a sense helped me to um go forward, uh I guess in a way of developing a type of detachment to um it's like loving my children, but also in a sense loving them with detachment.
Yeah,
Um
that's
yeah.
very Al-Anon of you.
Yes. Well, I didn't really know that term until I got into the 12-step program, and then I was like, oh, this makes sense. Loving with detachment. I think, as a child, I got taught love with attachment, and then learning love with detachment was it was a kind of a profound shift. I was like, wow, I can actually love somebody just as much, maybe more, and detach from that, whatever it might be that I felt that I needed to play in whatever role.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I want to honor that Ben has joined us. Hi, Ben. Welcome. He's, I think, saying, hang on a second with his finger.
Guess I was unmuted. Hi.
Hey,
Hey, Baba.
Jay Baba.
Yeah, I just running errands and actually kind of not feeling really great. I got a little bit of a cold or something, but I wanted to drop in. So, and then it was just you and Vanessa in here.
Baba.
Yeah, Jake Baba. Can't you guys just do this at home? You got to record it for the Baba Zoom, right?
We don't have to, but we choose to.
That's awesome. Well,
Yeah.
yeah, that's good point. So loving without detachment. I like that. I mean, loving with detachment, I mean.
with detachment. And the topic tonight is 12 ways of realizing me, and the way number 5 is faith. So do you want to hear the quote from Baba?
Yeah, please.
Okay. I'm going to share my screen.
Do I sound okay on the Bluetooth, or should I switch it over to my phone?
You sound fine.
Okay.
Can you see my screen?
No, I cannot. Hold on. Oh, yes, I can now. But
It
I'm
says,
driving also.
it's okay. I'll read it out loud. It says, faith. If you have the complete faith that Kalyan had for his master in believing it was night, although it was day, because his master said so, then you will know me. So we talked a little bit about that one because it's kind of profound, that Baba said Kalyan had so much faith in his master that he actually experienced it being night, even though it was day. That's how deeply he had faith in his master. And his master asked him to go bring a lantern because it was dark, but it wasn't dark. He just experienced it as being dark because his master said it was night. So that's pretty profound, right?
Wow. Yeah. It's amazing. And I can also, I'm thinking of, why would Baba say that?
Oh, I
Like,
know.
what's a practical way to look at this? And I think it's that he knows, and we're caught in illusion. And when he tells us something, we're going to need to have that faith to believe in something before we experience it. Maybe, I don't know.
Yes, and that actually segues to the quote I shared before that. You want to hear that?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is a quote that I wrote, and it says, faith is the bridge between experience and God realization. So what do I mean?
Wow.
Thanks. So what do I mean by
Spot
that?
on.
You like that one?
Well, we're on the same wavelength for sure. That's pretty much what I was trying to say, although you said it a lot better.
Well, I just said it differently. It's not better. Uh, it's that until we have the experience of God realization, faith is super helpful, and it's the bridge between our current experience, which is, as you said, illusion and Maya, and it's clouded by self-interest and sanskaras and doubts and all that. And faith helps us walk across that bridge to the final experience of God realization. And once we're in this experience of God realization, there's no need for faith anymore because we've arrived. But until we've arrived, faith is super helpful.
That's beautiful. Absolutely. And yeah, and that's why it's so important to love Baba and have trust in Baba. But at first, that can be difficult to understand. And yeah,
And
wow.
I'm going to ask you the same question I asked Vanessa, but since you weren't here to hear her answer, you can have your own answer, unbiased by her answer, which is, well, then what's the relationship between faith and surrender?
Yeah, I mean, I can see it. Let's see. They really are the same thing, aren't they? I mean,
I don't know. Are they? I'm asking you.
yeah. Well, let's see. I've got a cold, so I'm trying to activate the brain. I just got off work, and I'm like,
No pressure.
yeah. Well, trust, surrender, is having faith. So when I surrender to Baba's will or his intuition, I have faith that he's right. I have faith that intuition is serving me. Lately, I've been getting these glimpses of grace and just realizing how grace filled my life has been. I don't know if this is on topic or not, but this has been big for me recently because I kind of started getting sick last week, and I took the day off Thursday and Friday, partially just I think for the occasional mental health day. But it was sort of unusual for me to do that because we were in the middle of a big project, and I knew I'd have to get after it really on Monday when I came in. And when I came in, somehow I feel like Baba just lined it all up, and it was just like, and it's just been like clockwork, just perfect every single day. And so, you know, I can think of a situation I'm in right now, and who do we got there? Ralph. Hi, Ralph. So we have a situation right now I've been dealing with for over a year at our house where we have this mold, and my wife has not been able to live at the house, and I took out a second mortgage last year, and I'm not really sure how we're going to get through it, but I know we're going to get through it. There would be the faith piece, and I'm also really being brought to my knees in all this, and it's really kind of beautiful, and there's this really sort of strange feeling that I can't wait till it's over, and I don't want it to stop, because that's what it takes usually for a real experience of surrender. I can theorize it and think about it a lot and talk about it and pray about it and try to surrender. But when I'm forced into a situation of surrender, it actually feels really, really good, even though I'm suffering. And I can feel the faith so much more acutely because I don't have a choice. And I trust Baba, and all the building in that relationship and that trust is really paying off now. I guess that's how you could look at it, paying off.
That's
but
beautiful.
It is an investment, of my faith, of my trust in Baba, that it's going to be okay.
Yep, that's beautiful. Can I share something in response to
Yeah,
that?
please.
I'm going to paraphrase a Rumi translation, but the gist of part of the poem is, there's a doorway between this world and God's world, and the shape of that doorway is you on your knees in prayer.
Woo. Wow. That's really cool. You're muted, Vanessa.
I have something that I was thinking of, and then what you said, Laurent, relates to it, but it struck me. We were reading a book about fairies and angels, and one of the things that came up was how they're just ready to help in all these situations that we're in, but they can't help unless we ask. And so I think faith is a form of us asking God to get involved in our life. It's like our gift to him so that he can gift us his gift of love and grace and that unity.
That's great, Lo.
I love that. Yeah, did you say fairies and angels?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I love that. Something I've been thinking about a lot lately is living creatively, right? Like, you're an artist, and how important that is to live in a state of creativity. Because I have been getting the impression lately, I'm going to diverge here a little bit, or whatever the word is, and come back, but I've been getting the impression from Baba, I guess, through contemplation and journaling, it kind of came through this week, that when we drop our bodies, these bodies are grace, because there's a time delay between our imagination and the experience of what we imagine. And that's grace. And when we don't have the dampener of these bodies any longer, we will be able to imagine something and experience it instantaneously while appreciating it as illusion from the dream of being the creator, and knowing that it's all love and it's all good, and we can experience that. And I think when we paint, or when we make music, or when we practice, hey Diane, when we practice, then then that's what this is for. That's what this is about. So back real quick, I want to say the fairies and angels thing. So when Baba said that angels, what did he say, were aspects of God that,
Yes.
that we're actually higher than they are in a sense because they would need to go through a human experience to have God realization. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. And he also said when you get God realization, all the angels and archangels that you have externalized, you realize are your own powers.
Wow. So I may save the full version of this story for when I come on or something or another time, but I want to say that I had I prayed to some fairies once, and we had a dog that was 2 years old and died, and that's another story how that happened. And I went up on this. I felt this incredible urge to go to, and actually it happened through, of all things, some tarot cards. This is many years ago, and I was kind of into the tarot cards, and I had these fairy tarot cards, and it said go into the woods and ask for what you want, but they're going to tell you what. So I'm kind of going to give you the short version of the full story here. They're going to ask for you to do something probably, and I believed it. Well, there's a really cool story that I'm leaving out a lot of details, but I went to the woods on my lunch break. Woods are like 10 miles from my work. I got in the car, ran over there real quick just to run up this hill and pray in the woods, and I felt them say, hey, you need to pick up every piece of trash on your way back down. And that included, because I prayed about it too, a giant rusted chain link fence that I found. And I was like, is that trash? And Spirit's like, yep. And I picked it up and I had all this trash and I stuffed it in this big trash container and I fulfilled my end of the bargain. And when I got, just after I put it in the trash can, I go to the bathroom and I had prayed for a dog. I went to the bathroom to wash my hands, and there's the dog that I actually have now. That was 10 years. That was 2015, I think. And she's starving. And that not only that, she follows me to my car, actually, and jumps in the car. Like, incredible. And there's way more to that story that's still, like, pretty amazing, too. So it's not really for this conversation, I don't think, but it's beautiful.
Well, now it's time for a shameless plug. The next Sahavas for everyone in 2 weeks, we have our special guest, Ben Iloff. So please come and join us. It'll be the Ben Iloff show. So thank you for sharing that. Diane and Ralph, did you want to share anything about the topic tonight, which is 12 ways of realizing me, and the way is faith?
12 ways of what?
Oh, so I will share with you what I shared with them. We are doing 12 ways of realizing me. It's Baba's message, and it's the 5th month. So the way 5 is faith, Faith. If you have the complete faith that Kalyan had for his master in believing it was night, although it was day, because his master said so, then you will know me. And Baba had told that story many times in different formats and different ways. And the idea was that Kalyan, the disciple, actually had the experience of the darkness and the night just because his master said it was nighttime, even though it was broad daylight. And so that faith in his master gave him the experience of it being dark, which is quite interesting.
I don't know. I guess it's pushing a button right now about blind faith because of the political environment we're living in.
Okay.
I know when we're talking about Baba, and I feel safe with that about Baba, but that comment can be so misused.
Right. And we're not going to misuse it here tonight. So
Okay.
we can move on from the trigger if that's helpful to you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. So I guess in my life, what I found is when I first started with Baba back in 1986, I read a card that said the gist of it was, if you make me your real father, all difficulties and problems in your life will become dissolved in the ocean of my love. That was the gist of it. And when I read this card, I was literally standing in my apartment in New York. I was 17 years old, and I looked up, the classical Baba must be above kind of thing. I looked up and I said, "Okay, Baba, I'm making you my real father right now." And I did it in full faith, and I had really no idea what I was doing. I was 17, but I did it wholeheartedly. And little did I know, but he really did take over. And what started to happen was I started to have experiences of him more and more, both during meditation, in dreams. He would come to me in dreams and talk with me, and in wakeful states, intuition, premonition, all kinds of things started happening. And it got really amped up until until I didn't need to have that experience because Baba knows what he's doing. And then one thing led to another, and here I am. But I really do believe that my surrender to him was based in faith, if that makes any sense. Ralph, did you want to share anything? I know you're on the line there. You're on mute, Ralph.
Did that open it up? Did that open the mic?
You're now off mute. What's the question?
No question. You asked if I had anything to say, and I don't know. I think that's amazing. That first time was when you had that experience and spontaneously, did you express that out loud? Were you alone and you expressed it out loud?
Yeah, I was alone in my apartment in Manhattan. I was 17 years old, and I looked
You had
up.
your own apartment when you were 17?
It was my family apartment, but
Oh, your family, yeah.
my mother and sister were not there, and my father had died.
Had died.
I was alone. I was alone
Yeah.
in that moment. I was alone
The
in the apartment.
family was feeling insecure, no doubt. Without your dad, and you've been gone long and was insecure.
Yeah, insecure is a mild salsa way of saying it, but yes, they were insecure.
Right. It was terrible, in other words. Yeah.
It was terrible, and so Baba took over as my real father. Is what happened.
Yeah. Had you seen Baba's image before you had got this card? You just saw it was the first you laid eyes on this card and read it, and
no,
and that came out from within you.
No. I had been reading Baba's Universal Message.
Yeah.
And I had the image inside the Universal Message.
Yeah.
And the fellow who brought me to Baba said to me that I needed to go down to the Mayher Spiritual Center in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina.
Yeah.
Which made no sense because I was a New Yorker, and New Yorkers don't think there is anything outside of New York. So that was a surrender that I needed to make. And then I wrote to the Mayher Spiritual Center, and the fellow who wrote back to me, David Silverman, enclosed a card, and the card had that quote on it. And when I read that quote, I spontaneously said to Baba, "Okay, well then I'm making you my real father." And it was very spontaneous and wholehearted. But honestly, I really didn't know what I was doing. I was.
No, you wouldn't know. It's Baba in you speaking that. I'm not saying it's like a ghost or even a Holy Ghost. It just came out because we don't know what the God is within us. But in your case, I think it was Baba. Not the awareness like I would have of Laurent, but that Baba from the heart speaking out on your behalf, that it was you coming from, to do it spontaneously like that.
Yeah, I don't want to overcomplicate it. It was just me reading the quote and responding to the
Yeah.
quote.
Yeah,
I was responding to
Yeah.
Baba after reading his quote is what I was doing.
But there was a child who grew up in Myrtle Beach, kind of the Gio family, and Baba used to include them salutations to the Gio family in letters to Kitty and Elizabeth, and then Ruth White as well, the Gio family, and so it was, the father had died. He was alcoholic, and there was, I think, 2 children, and the mother, Mickey, who was an actress and a performer. She sang, she acted, and little Johnny Gio on the center, he didn't know he was on the center about Baba, and he saw a picture of Baba, and he was quite young. I don't know how young, but we had lessons. And he said, "Look, Mommy, that's God." And that's kind of in the vein of what your story. And in my own instance, I used to be such a dummy. I would say to myself out loud, but I could hear me say it, "Baba, are you God? Are you really God?" And then one time this voice within me that I could only hear said, but it was like said, "Yes, yes, I am." And I was rather shocked, and I found that. J Bob. That's
Jay
wonderful.
Baba, thanks for sharing.
Thanks. Yeah.
Well, we're coming up to the top of the hour, so any final burning thoughts or feelings or shares?
Yeah, I have to I have one.
Sorry, go ahead.
I just want to say I have to have faith that you guys aren't going to have accidents while you're on this Zoom. Both of you guys are in the car.
That's why I'm on video.
With that said, I'm putting my phone back down. Both hands here. Well, a couple of things, and one I might, save for later. But the first one, I was just going to say, it's interesting. I like your story, both of you, and I couldn't totally understand Ralph through your Bluetooth, maybe, but I also had a situation before I knew about Mayor Baba, without a dad around, where I asked God to be my father, and I could tell, yes, God was my father. But then when I was about 14 or 15, I started having some, I guess you might just call them pleasure-seeking thoughts about trying drugs and women and things. And and I told God I was going to screw it up, because I could feel that God was perfect. And he was kind of like, "I know, that's why I want to introduce you to someone." And he introduced me to who I thought was Jesus at the time, who I've come to believe Baba was Jesus. So it was Baba, it was a very similar feeling that I have, same feeling actually, but this personification of God. But the other thing I wanted to share was in relation to the quote. It is night, because as long as we're trapped in ignorance, it is night, even when the sun is shining. That's it.
I love that. Thank you, Ben.
That's kind of a mic drop comment.
Well, that might be the perfect way to end the session. We're at the top of the hour. Diane, last thoughts and feelings?
Sorry, we missed it. We had to go to the vet, and it was right at the time we started. So I will look at the recording too, but looking forward to hearing Ben's story.
Yeah. He'll be on in 2 weeks, God willing. Vanessa,
Really looking forward to it.
And happy fifth month birthday to your granddaughter.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
I know she's growing too quick.
Really fast.
All right. Should I
Oh.
stop? I'll stop the recording and then we can continue if we want. All right. Avatar Meher
Meher
Baba
Baba
ki jai.
Yay.
Avatar Meher
Meher
Baba
Baba
ki
ki
jai.
Yay.
Avatar Meher
Avatar
Baba
Meher
ki
Baba
jai.
Yay.